Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Elliot Gerson of the Aspen Institute, and I would like to welcome all of you to the 2013 ceremony announcing the winner of the Aspen Prize for Community College Excellence. 2.5 years ago, we were approached by 4 foundations that recognized how important community colleges are to educational opportunity and to economic growth for our country. They asked us to partner with them and manage a prize that would do 2 things. First, to help define and measure what it means to be a first-rate community college. Second, to divide among them a $1 million award to the community colleges that demonstrate both high levels of success for all students while remaining accessible to any student, regardless of the student's socioeconomic background or ability to pay. The prize was announced at the White House in 2010, and 2 years later, I am delighted to say, and not at all surprised to say, that it has become one of the leading programs of many. We have almost 30, but it is now clearly one of the stellar programs within the Aspen Institute. Part of the reason for the extraordinary success that we have had is that the original 4 founding and funding partners continued with us for these 2 years. And that is something that does not happen frequently, and we are thrilled and deeply appreciative. And I would like to thank the Bank of America Foundation, the Joyce Foundation, the Lumina Foundation, and J.P. Morgan Chase for their vision and for their strong ongoing support. And they have been joined by 3 other funding partners, the Kellogg Foundation, Bloomberg Philanthropies, and America Achieves. I'd like to thank them as well, and thank indeed all of our extremely generous funders for this incredibly important prize. And you know, more generally, this prize has been such a perfect fit for the Aspen Institute and for the values that are so important to us and that animate all the things we do domestically and internationally. It allows us to bring people together from both sides of the aisle, and there are very few institutions today that can do that as well as we do, and I think obviously there's a great thirst in this country for institutions and programs that truly do bring people together on a bipartisan basis. Also bringing people together from many different perspectives, but all to answer a fundamentally important question facing our country today. How can community colleges deliver more degrees tied to real jobs in an era of constrained resources? That is essentially the central question that our program asks, and it's the central purpose of the prize that we are so proud to have our name associated with. The prize has also, though, spawned a growing set of higher education initiatives at the Institute, including one in the area of the college presidency that will release its first report in just a couple of months. All of these things that I've mentioned are due to the hard and thoughtful and foresighted work of the person who leads Aspen's higher education work, my colleague Josh Wyner. It is his combination of clear vision, deep fundamental commitment to education and educational equity, and tireless efforts to implement programs at a very high level that has brought us all to where we are here today. It is now my great pleasure to turn over the ceremonies to Josh Wyner.
Thank you, Elliot, for those very kind words, and thank you all for being here. I've had the pleasure over the last couple of years of visiting so many campuses and seeing so many of the folks who are on those campuses doing the hard work of making sure that students can succeed, students who would not have the opportunity for an education without the work that you do. So thank you all for being here. We have with us today a member of Congress, Congressman Randy Weber. Are you, please? Thank you. Congressman Weber, newly elected from the 14th District in Texas, and here with one of our finalist colleges located in your district, Brazosport College. And I will speak highly specifically of Brazosport. For those who want a similar treatment, bring your members of Congress too. Did you know, Congressman, because I'm not sure Brazosport did, that the graduates of Brazosport College, and more students are graduating every year, earn over 150% what new hires do in the region, and they hold on to those wages 5 years later. So do everything you can to support this great college. Also here is the president of the 2011 prize winner, Sandy Shugart. Sandy and I have continued to do some work together, and many of you may be wondering why Valencia is not in the list of top 10 colleges. I notified Sandy by email, I think it was, that they're not eligible this year, having won the prize last year, and his email back to me said, I understand, you've moved on, remember, we were your first. So, Sandy, you were the first, but in just an hour or so, you will no longer be the reigning winner of the Aspen Prize for Community College Excellence. I'm sorry to say, we're here today because community colleges really matter. The 1,200 colleges in our country are educating 7 million students in degree and other credential programs. There are another estimated 6 million students who are getting educated in workforce training, who are getting their GEDs, who are learning English as a second language. 13 million students is 4% of the entire US population. They are growing at 4 times the rate of four-year colleges. That has ebbed a little in the last year or so, but for the last decade, that's 4 times the rate of four-year colleges. So what that means is that today, most freshmen and sophomores in this country are in community college, and very soon, most undergraduate students will be in community college. So with all of the things community colleges do, providing students an on-ramp to a bachelor's degree, making sure that they have an opportunity for good workforce training, helping students who may not have been served well in high school or who are recent immigrants get a foothold in the economy, retraining workers. Doing all of those things is hard work, but it's also getting more complicated every day because the world around community colleges is changing, and it's changing fast. The first change is the change that relates to accountability. Community colleges are not just being held accountable for the number of students they enroll anymore, but now the question is how many are exiting with a degree that has value. Now we know from Tony Carnevale's research and others that the labor market demands for people with higher education is growing. It's increasing. About 40% of Americans have college degrees today, and we need 60% by the end of this decade to have a college degree. So states who have long been the largest investor in community colleges are now starting to pay colleges not just for enrolling students, but also for graduating them. So accountability is certainly part of the changing environment. But there are other things as well that are happening. The second is it's not just enough to deliver a degree. Again, research is showing that there are about 2 million jobs in the country today that are going begging because we don't have people who have the skills to access those jobs. And so the federal government and states are starting to pay more attention, not just to the number of degrees that are being awarded, but to whether those degrees provide the skills that people need to succeed in jobs after they graduate. It's about what it's about for students, right? They're not there to get a degree. They are there to learn, but they're there to learn things that leads to something better after they leave. In this academic year alone, Virginia, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Colorado have published data that's really groundbreaking. It publishes data on the amount of money students earn out of different programs in all the state's colleges, by program, by college. That is a revolution. The third change is the cost equation that's happening for community colleges these days, and it's simply not the same as it was a decade ago, and it will be different a decade from now than it is today. Technology is offering new ways of delivering education. You all hear about MOOCs. Those of us in higher education may be a little tired of hearing about MOOCs, but we ought to get used to it. Massively open online courses This is just one piece of a technological revolution for delivering education that's doing nothing less than calling into question what the role of a professor is on a college campus. But it also allows for efficiencies. So in terms of the cost equation, community colleges have to grapple with that. Meanwhile, for-profit educators, many of them using some of this technology, are enrolling more and more students. And those students look a lot like the students who are on community college campuses. And then finally, states are facing constrained budgets. They're unlikely to increase per pupil funding anytime soon for community colleges. So the cost equation, both on the revenue side and in terms of expenditures, is changing. And then the final change is something that's been continuing for some time, but we always have to remind ourselves, and that is, who is it that is coming to community colleges? Last year, for the first time, the majority of babies born in the United States were African American, Hispanic, Asian American, Native American. They are not white students who were the ones who were populating colleges across the country 50 years ago. I can tell you where they're going to be in 18 years. We know they're disproportionately coming to community colleges. And if they're not there in 18 years, they're going to be there in 28 years seeking a second chance. And whether they're there in 18 or 28 years, they're going to be back in 38 or 48 years seeking to be retooled in an economy that is changing dramatically. The good news is, because that can be pretty depressing, is thinking about all of what colleges need to do, right? They need to deliver more degrees of a greater value with less money per pupil and a more diverse population. That is a tough task. The good news is we've got a lot of people, many sitting in this room, who are doing the hard work of making sure that community colleges can meet this challenge. Several are in our audience today. The Department of Education has been leading for 5 years now, working hard to improve data systems so that both students and colleges have better information from which to measure and understand student success, and releasing toolkits on how colleges can improve completion rates. The American Association of Community Colleges, I see Walter Bumpus, my friend here, and others from the association, has challenged in a national report all community colleges to increase student success rates, and now is convening a group of teams in their 21st Century Commission to try to answer the question of how that's going to happen. Achieving the Dream, Bill Trueheart is here and some of his colleagues, are working with nearly 200 colleges nationally on data-driven reforms, trying to make sure that colleges look at data on where students fail and make sure that they act on that data to work for students to achieve. The Trustees Association is working with boards around the country on what they can do to help more students succeed, and the list goes on. That's really good news. So the question is, why have a prize for community colleges in the face of all of this effort? Well, the theory of the prize is a little bit different from all of these folks. We're looking to try to find the colleges that are already achieving high and improving levels of student success and hold them out as exemplars for others to understand, to try to synthesize what they do, but also to elevate these colleges so that you can tell your stories, so that other colleges across the country can meet this demand that we're placing on them to improve student success as we move forward. So how did we do this work? Well, to select the winner and finalists being honored here today, we wish we had perfect data systems. We don't. Those of us who work in this space know that. But we can't wait for perfect data systems before identifying colleges that do better than others, before elevating those that are doing exceptional work. And to get to a synthesis of what the data tells us, we've worked with some exceptional folks, National Center for Higher Education Management Systems, Patrick Kelly, Rob Johnstone is here from the RP group. These are the folks that helped us crunch all the numbers to figure out whether students are learning, whether they're graduating, whether they're getting jobs after they graduate, and whether they're achieving equitable results. Those are the 4 areas that we examined. And we looked at over 1,000 community colleges through this process over a full year. We couldn't have done this without the support of the foundations that have been with us for a couple of years. We couldn't have done it without the tremendous work of our data metrics advisory panel, Keith Bird and Bill Trueheart as our co-chairs of that, and all of the members. We couldn't have done it without the great site visitors who traveled with us to these colleges and saw what we saw, the amazing work being done on the ground, or the prize jury, or our selection panel. I'd like to ask all the people who have been involved in any of the steps of the prize to just stand up for a moment so you can see that this really is a team effort. Could you please be recognized for a moment? Thanks. Thanks. And of course, it took a great team of people inside Aspen. Rachel Roth, Leo Fitzpatrick, Christian Arana, Tiffany Yoon just joined our team, Erica Falk. Those are the folks who brought all of this work together and enabled us to get to the point we are today at, which is to recognize the winners and finalists with distinction for the 2013 Aspen Prize.